What a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Reverend Tammy Miller. It's my joy to be with you today to share this spiritual message, to remind us of these spiritual truths. We are right in the middle of a series right now that is called Living in the Land of Oz, seen with awe-colored glasses. And so we're following along with Sacred Circles. Some of you may be in some of your Sacred Circles. And today's talk is about seeing the world differently. And that's really what this spiritual journey is about. It is about having those eyes that God has, and seeing the world from a different perspective. We know spiritually, I got a quote on this. It says, when you become aware of the spiritual dimensions of life, your world is different. It's as if the lights are on in a room that was once dark. Deepak Chopra says really well, and I love this quote, I've remembered and used it for years. It says, chaos is simply an indication that you're not looking at it from a high enough perspective. For the spiritual journey and these spiritual truths are truly elevating yourself to look at things from a higher perspective. The Bible says the vibration of the Most High. I was recently, on Friday, I had a wedding to go to, and it was in La Jolla. And I'm pretty familiar with La Jolla, and I had the address, and I looked it up on MapQuest, and I wasn't quite placing exactly where it was, if it was over by the Salk Institute, or if it was, up a little higher or down below it or whatever. And so I had gone on MapQuest, and I was looking at it, and sure enough, I was able to raise up and see it from a little bit higher perspective, where I could see the school and see all of the other areas of La Jolla, and I knew exactly where I was going. Think about it when you think of chaos, or we think about how busy it is. Maybe you're at a new town or you're visiting around, but when you fly in on the airplane, it's laid out perfect. It's square, everything is perfect. And so that just proves it, that chaos is just an indication that we're not looking at it from a high enough perspective. And that's God. That's from the creative aspect. That's from the Creator. And that's what this spiritual journey is about. That's what we are knowing. That's what we are doing. We are raising ourselves up in consciousness, raising ourselves up in awareness, so that when we walk in the things that we do, we can see the order, we can see the perfection, and with that comes peace and grace and calm and harmony and love and the life that we're really looking for. There are some things that are just automatic, and when we think about it, when we realize this, we are truly hardwired for success. We are already made that way. That the Creator made us brilliantly. It has given us, it has promised us that, number one, that we would have strength. Think about it. Any time in your life have you ever needed strength and not gotten it? We've had difficult times, we've had struggles, we've had catastrophes happen. We've had all kinds of things. And when we need it, that strength comes into us. Every time. Whether you're on the spiritual journey or not, you don't even have to be aware of it. Those are the gifts that are delivered unto us, just hardwired right into us. That strength is there for the asking. And the beautiful part about that, the beautiful gift of that, is that you get to keep it. That you stay strong. And if you want to be stronger, you just call in more strength, and it is yours for the keeping. We think about rest, already hardwired. Whenever we've given out physical labor, whenever we've worked too hard, or whatever we've done, rest is automatic. We get to sit back, we get to sleep, we get to allow rest to restore and rejuvenate our body. It's automatic. Rejuvenation, restoration, wholeness. We think about peace. Peace right after chaos, right after crisis. We've all been there. We've all cried really, really hard. And when we are done, that's a peace that passeth understanding. That calm, that just cleansing, that just knowing that all is well. It's automatic. It's hardwired. It's ours. Help. Help anytime that we ask. Help is there. When you think about it, when you've needed anything, has it not eventually shown up or something better or more perfect for you? Every time. Help is automatically hardwired into who and what we are. It's ours for the asking. It comes through people. God works through and as people, through kindness, through love, through generosity, their hands, their smiles. It's through the people that help comes. Every time we need it, it's there for us. There's a story, actually, it's a true story of an Alaskan airline pilot. There's a family that had a son, one of their two sons, had muscular dystrophy, and he was really bad. He was actually 15 years old. And he wasn't good. And anybody that's ever had a terminally sick child or a really sick child knows that it is difficult, day in and day out. The whole family is wrapped around this and just the well-being and bringing joy and love to this child the best that you can. Well, they had decided to take their child from Seattle to California to go to Disneyland, for him to see Disneyland. And so they were boarding the airplane, and the father actually had to carry the boy onto the airplane. And the pilot saw the dad carrying the boy into the airplane and asked him if his son would like to come and sit in the front and in the cockpit and kind of check it out and see what was going on. And of course he did. The little boy, the young man, actually was so elated and so excited. It was like a dream come true to him, just the kindness. And you know, as a parent, when somebody does something really great for your kid, your heart couldn't open anymore. It just floods with love and joy. And so he was all excited in there, and then they took him to his seat, and on the way out, they flew to Los Angeles. And as they were leaving the plane, the pilot asked for the boy's address, said that he had something for him. His pilot's name was Gary. And they gave him his address, and sure enough, he'd received in a short while a card and a pair of wings. And they actually were the first pair of wings that this pilot had gotten when he was in the military, in the service, which was sweet. This little boy was so elated. First of all, he had a pilot friend. Second of all, he got to sit in that cockpit and learn all about it, and now he has an official pair of wings. He wore it everywhere he went. He showed it to his friends at school and everything. He was so excited about this. And then it was his 16th birthday. And who comes knocking at the door but this pilot, this Alaskan airline pilot named Gary, comes knocking at the door with a gift, and he brings to the young boy his very first pilot jacket that he had ever had. The boy was over the top. What a birthday present. He put his wings on it, and he wore it. He wore it constantly, except for when he was sleeping. He was constantly wearing that jacket. He was beaming. He knew he wanted to be a pilot. He wanted to fly. He knew that's what his life was about. Well, it ended up that the little boy, or the young man, actually died about 4 months later. So he had had this joy, this excitement, this elation. The parents had all of this love and help to make life just a little bit easier. Showed up through one gentleman who somehow was inspired, saw something and was inspired to be loving and kind, to be the hands of God for this young life. Well, it ended up that the mother emailed the pilot to tell him that the boy had passed, and his email was down. He had changed his email. So she didn't reach him. So she ended up writing an article into Alaska Airlines. 4 years later, she was on the internet and saw that you could put this customer appreciation site. And so she had written the story of how kind Gary was and what a difference it made in her son's life and their lives. And then the Alaskan Airlines called her and wanted to publish it. And they published it in Alaskan Airlines magazine. And Gary saw it and contacted her. And one day, after about 2 months the article had been out, he knocks on the door. And he brings a box, and in this box was a model airplane of an Alaskan airline, an airline model, for her to keep, for her to remember the love and the dream of her son, for her to remember this experience, and most importantly, love. When we're a complete stranger for him. Help is there. Help is there every time we ask for it. Beauty. Anytime we need inspiration, anytime that we want to see beauty, it is right there for us to look at. Anywhere you look, there's nowhere that you can go that if you didn't want to look or find beauty right now, the Creator created a place where beauty and therefore inspiration is everywhere present for us to see anytime we want it, no matter what. It's just hardwired. It's already there for you, for the taking. How perfect. And love. Love. Think about love. Love is there. It's everywhere. It's in every single person. Everyone you come into, they have a whole bunch of it inside of them, ready to give, ready to come out. Love is everywhere. It's in babies. It's in dogs. It's in people. Love is everywhere. We're already hardwired for love to be set up right there. And love is the most powerful energy that we possess. It is the most powerful energy that we possess. Because with love, we can walk into any situation in front of any individual or any person, place, or thing and change it and heal it. Just with love, with us allowing that love to flow through us. When you start studying this concept, we teach about the principles of the invisible. And in this invisible is this power and presence that Ernest Holmes says that we can use for good. And that's us. It is who we are. We're hardwired that way. It just exudes for us. None of us came without it. It's in us. And it's an infinite supply. But there's this invisible. There's this something that's going on, and that's the spiritual path that we're on. That's what we're discovering. That's what we're getting to know. Greg Braden has a book called The Divine Matrix, and now science is trying to find or actually measure this infinite invisible that we're having trouble even giving words to. And he has a couple of experiments, and one of the experiments that was there was actually that he had taken a vacuum or a tube, and he had tried to empty it completely. He had literally sucked all the air out of it and everything out of it, and in this tube, actually what was left, because they had the equipment to be able to see it these days, were these little protons. But they were everywhere. They were chaotic. There was no pattern to them. They just were everywhere present. And they took a piece of some DNA and put it into this container. And all of a sudden, these protons started clumping together and creating patterns, identical patterns to the DNA. All of them started coming together. And so what that taught was that we, who is all DNA, all of this presence, all of this energy that they're trying to identify and name, that we can we affect our outside world. We know that, but we don't know we sometimes forget to what degree that we are actually, our being, our energy, our frequency, all that we are as we show up is affecting the outside world. Vibrationally and energetically, it is lining up with exactly who we are as we walk around. So when you walk into a room as love, when you walk into a room as compassion, literally, the air and everything around matches it and becomes it. It's powerful. We don't realize sometimes how powerful we are. They did another experiment where they took some tissue out from the inside of a gentleman's mouth. The Army did this. These were all done in the mid-90s. And they took this tissue and they put it in a room that was about 100 feet away. And they took the gentleman and they put him through high emotional situations. So they made him, through videos. He was watching a video, he was watching war movies and just saw the most horrible things in these war movies. And then they took him and showed him some elating things where he was just overwhelmed with joy. And what they realized is that the emotions, when he was having a peak emotion or a low emotion, when he was at his peaks, that the tissue that was in the other room 100 feet away was putting off an electrical current, a powerful, super powerful electrical current because of what he was going through. And they thought, well, that's interesting. So they moved this tissue 350 miles away and did the exact same thing. And exactly the tissue also put off the electrical currents exactly like it. And the thing that was amazing about it was it did it at the exact same time he was experiencing it. So what that tells us is there's no time and space in who we are or the effect we have or what we're doing. Sometimes we think we need to send somebody energy, or we ask the question, how can prayer work for somebody that's in New York, or I need to send him some juju, or what do I need to do? But the truth is that just who we are, and we're discovering this scientifically, just who we are is so powerful. It affects this divine matrix, he calls it, or this field. We don't even begin to know what's going on in this field on how powerful we are. And so then, as we advance and we move into these heightened areas of spiritual consciousness, heightened areas of learning, as we become advanced students of what's really going on here, we learn about these spiritual principles that seem to be completely opposite of what's happening in this material world. We learn about life. We realize in life that everything is unfolding perfectly. Now, these are some bold statements. Everything is unfolding perfectly. Nothing ever changes for the worse. It is always getting better. The entire universe is designed that way. It is always expanding and is always moving into a greater expression. It's always moving into something new, always. Now, we could look at it from a human standpoint and say, that was really bad or that was really bad. But when we look at it, when we raise up, when we look from a heightened perspective, when we are in touch with this presence and we look down on what is going on, and if we even look back in our own lives, we can see that there was some good happening there. There was some unfoldment there. There was some progress happening there. No matter what, it is always getting better, even if we can't see it. It's the way the universe is designed. We judge not. We learn when we come from this heightened perspective to judge not by appearances, which the Bible says. Because we know that it's all unfolding perfectly. But most importantly, we know that we are the creators of our experience. That's our most powerful teaching. That's the most powerful lesson that you can have coming to a church like this or a philosophy like this. Is that we are the creators of our experience. We saw it in the experiments. Through our thoughts, through our attention, we are changing our experience. One of the other experiments was an experiment called heart math, where they literally took, again, some cells and they separated it from the body. And they put all their consciousness and all their awareness and all their attention in their heart, on love, on peace, on joy, on everything that was powerful and good. And what they found is that these cells, this DNA that they had taken out, actually had changed shape and form based on the love and the positive energy that it was given. We used to think that your DNA, that's what you got, you're stuck with it, but now we're knowing it is it's as pliable as anything else. Through the power of our thoughts, through the knowingness, and clearly knowing and claiming that I am the creator of my experience. No matter what, even if something is here that you wouldn't think that you would ask in some way, shape, or form, it's a match for you. But that's the best news that we could ever hear, because if you are the creator of your experience, then you can create something new. We judge not by appearances. Whatever's been manifested out there already is some other guy's manifestation. That's what they created. It has nothing to do with you, unless you want to follow it and mimic it by putting your attention and focus on it and saying, this is the way it's supposed to be, so that's the way I'm going to be. All things, it's infinite, the possibilities on where we can go. We are the creators. When we move to this heightened awareness and this heightened consciousness, we learn that people are powerful, that we don't need to change anyone. We don't need to fix anyone. For that's absolutely impossible. They have to do that work themselves. But where we are powerful is in that station of love. Because we are connectors. We know that one connected with Source, one connected with God is more powerful than 1,000 people that are not. And change happens. We know that feeling good is feeling God. And when we are connected, and you've been there, you've felt it. When things are right and you're connected and you're happy and you're in that flow, you have felt that everything unfolds perfectly for you. So we are connectors to source. And how do you connect somebody to your source? Through love. That's the only way. You can't criticize them into it. You can't punish them into it. You can only love them into their connection. So now how horrible they're acting, no matter what it is they're doing, we know this with our kids. We think, well, we have to discipline them and punish them and do all these things. It doesn't work. What we have to do is love them into their connection, because when they're connected, watch out. It's funny because you think about our teaching, and if you were to really take our teaching and take it literally, if you were to tell somebody about it, it would seem that we were like a cult or something, no? Because what do we teach, We teach narcissism. Nothing's more important than me, Well, isn't it true? And we know that we have to be connected first. We have to know our wholeness, and we have to be connected to God. We teach deny reality. It's not true, And we teach that I am God, They would lock people up for that. In fact, we had a lady here once. It was so funny. She was here and she was just going through a divorce, and it wasn't a very friendly divorce. It was not good. And here at Seaside, when you write your checks out, you can write your checks out to God. We actually went and got a DBA, and it's giving opulently to the divine, because we know that giving and circulating is an intimate, personal thing, and so that's the process of it. But when she went to court and her ex had pulled all the bank statements and saw all these checks to God, he's trying to prove that she wasn't sane. Just a warning out there, y'all. Anyways, I think I lost my spot. From a heightened awareness. Moving from a heightened awareness, and we move into that space, probably the most powerful and the most critical area that we can come in tune with, that we can have peace with, that we can come in alignment with, is when we learn about death and what death really is. What we know is that from all of the ancient teachings, from the Bible, from everywhere, that nobody goes before their time. Nobody goes before their time. Nobody goes before their purpose, their agreed upon purpose, their purpose of coming here is fulfilled. And when you can really embody that, that gives you a tremendous peace. It's a difficult thing to do. I had a child, I lost a child. And in that process, you think, why would anyone lose a child? What could that be about? How could that make any sense at all? But what it did for me is it forced me to go deep into these teachings. It forced me to understand God. It forced me to understand life. It forced me to understand death. And it forced me to understand that. And it forced me to raise up above the situation. Because we get so serious and we get so caught up in our everyday life. But when we raise up and we look at the big picture, and we look at these eternality of the souls, and we look at the power we have and what we come for and the decisions and choices and the options that we have, it would make sense that we're just trying all different kinds of things. And sometimes our purpose is to make a profound change in the world. And that's one thing a child leaving does to many, many people. We realize it gives you a peace of mind. As a grandma, I think about this, and as a mom I did, and any of you that are moms, you think about, oh my gosh, I got to keep my child safe. I got to keep them away from the swimming pool. I got to keep them away from cars and streets, and oh my gosh, they can be in danger. I had a son that rode a motorcycle and that. But if you can really embody that one spiritual truth, that nobody goes before their time, and nobody goes before their purpose is fulfilled, then you realize whatever the accident is or whatever are those things you're worrying about that could have happened are not the source. That just was an avenue of which it took. If it wasn't that, it would have been something else, if they were complete and fulfilled. And so that's one of the things that we teach, and it's probably the hardest one to embody and to really understand. But once that you can understand that, once you can find a place of peace in that with you, you are free. You are so free. Free to trust, free to surrender, free to let people be who they are and do what they're doing, free to watch the perfect unfoldment of this world, trust and surrender, and most importantly, you're filled with gratitude. Gratitude for the intelligence, gratitude for the awe of what's going on here at on this planet. A couple of months ago, I was asked to come sit with a gentleman who was in his early 60s and was just told by the doctor that he only had a few days to live. And he wasn't necessarily in this philosophy, but I had the opportunity to sit with him, and it was a profound gift for me. He was comfortable with it. He had felt he had had a good life, but we got to have a really honest conversation. And I invite you to kind of step into his shoes for a minute. That if you knew you were leaving the planet in a couple of days, where would your mind go? What would you reflect upon on this journey, this visit to this lifetime right here and now? You're in awe of the beauty. Think about what the Creator has created with the beauty that is here. The mountains and the snow and the snowflakes and the valleys and the flowers and the fields and the beauty that's everywhere present, the ocean, the sunrises and the sunsets. I mean, just reflect on what you are getting to experience. Snorkeling and going underwater and seeing the coral and the beautiful fish. It's all there for us. What are we getting to experience? The beauty of the plant kingdom or the animal kingdom, of the beauty of butterflies, of elephants and monkeys and all of the creation of God. When you're getting ready to leave and you only have a few days and you reflect back on this location, this trip, and exactly all that was here for you, you ask the question, have I seen it? What do I want to see? How magnificent it is. Talk about seeing the world differently. When you look at that and you look at the abundance that's on this planet, on this time that God has created. Abundance of sand, abundance of air, abundance of flowers, of food, just the incredible abundance that is here right now. How often we forget and think about what there isn't instead of all that there is. We think about the wisdom. Oh my gosh, the perfect unfoldment of everything. It all works. All of the orchestration works. I mean, I watch like ants and bees, and everything has a purpose, and everything works together for the highest good of the whole. We are all part of it. This intelligence that is here is awestruck. It's incredible. And you think about the people. Think about what God has created in the people. If it is the hands and the eyes and the voice and the kindness and the love, if that is God in action through and as the people, the compassion that is on this planet, the compassion, think about those that have been kind and compassionate to you. Think about the love. Think about the joy. Think about the infinite supply of love and joy and peace. When you look at it from somebody who's leaving the planet's shoes and you ask yourself, have we appreciated it? Have we used as much of it as we want? It's there in infinite supply. As the Bible says, it's Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. That is everything that is here. Have we explored it? Have we played with it? Have we had fun with it? Have we expanded it? What have we done? How are we living? If we want to see the world differently, let's see the world as God sees the world. As we sang earlier, as the Wednesday night service is all about amazing grace. It's everywhere present. I once was blind, but now I see. There's a quote that says, when you design your life to see God in everything, something magical happens to your life. Ordinary life becomes extraordinary. To see the world differently. Let's see it from our spiritual dimension. Let's see it from our awe-colored glasses. For we live in the land of awe. And we only have to do one thing. Only one thing. Is choose to see it. Let us turn within. Take a big breath. Release it together. Oh, that creates a how great it is. For we close our eyes to this outside world and this creation that is there. We move within to that power and presence, that love that we call God. That place that is within us that is so powerful, all-knowing, everywhere present. It houses itself as us, in, through, and as each of us. For when we see chaos, it is simply an indication that we are not looking at it from a high enough perspective, from the perspective of God, from the vibration of the Most High. We stand in power. We stand in truth. We stand in knowing that God is and I am. That we are never alone. That our every step is guided and guarded. That we are hardwired for all of the good that we can possibly imagine. I claim it right here and right now for each and every individual that walks this planet. Knowing that it is good and only good, I say thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Again, with a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Hey, I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts. And then afterwards, take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.
Of the Most High. We stand in power. We stand in truth. We stand in knowing that God is and I am.